Don't care. You think I didn't care before? How about now? Definitely don't care. What?
But this brings me...
Yes.
Did you always speak in a deadpan manner?
No.
What about in private?
No, the deadpan thing is not my thing.
What about to dogs?
To dogs?
There's a very specific look interviewers get around Aubrey Plaza. It starts as confidence, they've done their homework, they've got their questions lined up, maybe they've even prepped a follow-up in case she gives a short answer, and within about 30 seconds, it curdles into total confusion because nobody can tell if she's joking, lying, or genuinely furious at them. That's not an accident, and it's not nerves.
How are you? Are you having a good summer so far?
Yes, so many penises.
Okay.
That's the entire brand, built deliberately over more than a decade of talk shows, red carpets, and late-night couches, refined appearance by appearance until it became something close to an art form. Talk show hosts, red carpet reporters, even her own co-stars have all at some point sat across from Aubrey Plaza and quietly realized, mid-sentence, that they have absolutely no idea what's about to happen next or how to steer the conversation back to safe ground.
You look stunning.
Oh, thank you.
You really do. You look gorgeous. It's a beautiful dress.
This old thing?
Stop doing that. We're going to have a good time tonight. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
No,
You're welcome.
yep is not the correct response.
Oh,
Thanks for being here. Yep.
This is the story of the actress who turned "I refuse to explain the joke" into an entire career, and somehow made an entire generation of professional interviewers look like amateurs in the process. Let's start with the one clip that basically defined her reputation before most people even knew her name, years before Parks and Recreation made her a household name, and long before anyone had coined the phrase Aubrey Plaza energy to describe this exact phenomenon. At the Toronto premiere of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Aubrey Plaza and her co-star Michael Cera were doing separate interviews standing right next to each other on the same stretch of red carpet, each with their own microphone and their own reporter. Mid-sentence, Cera reached over and grabbed her microphone, clearly just messing around the way two friends who'd spent months filming together might. Plaza did not treat it like a bit for even a second. Seriously, don't do that. She told him, dead serious, not a flicker of a smile on her face. Like, honestly, don't do that. Stop.
It's on TV. Gotta keep it bright and seriously, don't do that. Like, honestly, stop.
The interviewer, sensing a moment worth chasing, chimed in that there was so much sexual tension happening here. Plaza's response, ice cold, delivered without missing a beat, "I don't know what you're talking about."
There was so much sexual tension happening here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It is obvious.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then, turning to the camera as if abandoning the whole segment, "This is ruined. I'm sorry you had to see that." She turned to Cera one last time. "I hope you're happy. Have a great night," and walked off entirely, leaving both Cera and the interviewer standing there completely unsure whether they just witnessed a genuine meltdown or the single best bit of the entire press tour.
If anything else, this is ruined, and I'm sorry that you had to see that.
I thought it was good.
I hope you're happy. That was really fun.
Thank you, Aubrey. That was Aubrey Plaza. Almost tumbling, but fighting.
Nobody actually knows which one it was, more than a decade later, and neither Cera nor the interviewer ever got a follow-up chance to ask. That's the whole point, and it's exactly why the clip still circulates today, long after the movie itself has faded from most people's memory.
Oh, that was interesting. We'd go from like having coffee and like laughing to me like cursing him out.
Does he enjoy you yelling at him?
Oh yeah, I think so.
That single clip set the template for basically every interview she's given since, and the wildest part is, she's fully aware of it and has actually thought about why it works better than most people who do this kind of thing on instinct alone. "I think it's hilarious that people know me from my talk show appearances and not my actual work," she told The Independent, deadpanning even about her own deadpanning, in a tone that gives you absolutely no clue whether she's genuinely amused or quietly annoyed by it.
I wouldn't know the answer to that. I know where you're going with it, and I know what you're trying to do. But yeah, it was like taking the craziest acid. It was beyond a crazy.
She's admitted the interview format makes her genuinely uncomfortable, so her solution isn't to fight it or fake her way through polished sound bites like most people in her position. It's to lean all the way into the discomfort and let it become the entertainment itself. She's even talked about this philosophy in more serious terms, telling Time that deadpan delivery works because it strips a line of any obvious subtext. The audience genuinely can't tell if something's meant to be funny or serious, and that ambiguity is more interesting to sit with than a clearly signaled joke ever could be, because it forces the viewer to actually do some of the interpretive work themselves instead of being told exactly how to react. She said that as an actor, she doesn't consciously separate funny from not funny while she's doing it, it just comes from a sincere place, which might be the most unsettling explanation possible for someone whose entire public persona runs on nobody being sure what's sincere. She's even recalled directors having to physically stop a scene mid-take just to remind her, out loud, that what they were filming was supposed to be a comedy, which tells you everything about how deep the commitment actually runs on set and off. Take her appearance on David Letterman's Late Show, years into her career, promoting a movie like every other guest that week, sitting across from a man who had personally interviewed sitting presidents and world leaders without ever losing control of a conversation.
And
what does that mean, environmental
I'm not
design?
sure. She designs, eco-friendly. I don't really know. I'm just lying. I don't know.
Letterman asked about her sisters. Fine, normal question she has too, and that part was true, confirmed by anyone who bothered to check. Then he asked what she does for a living.
And
You're just lying about your
Lies.
sister. Yeah, it's
Lies.
all lies. Do you have a sister? Do you have any sisters? No. There's something wrong with you.
yes, I know.
You're from Delaware.
Yep.
Plaza started making things up on the spot, feeding him increasingly implausible answers with total, unwavering sincerity, never once breaking to signal she was joking.
And I wear a costume when I play.
No, you don't.
Yeah, no, I do.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Until Letterman, a broadcasting legend who had built an entire career on catching people in exactly this kind of bit, started to visibly, audibly question whether he could trust anything she'd said in the entire segment, including whether she actually had sisters at all.
You don't want to. Now, first of all, do you not want to be?
No, I want to be here. I'm so glad.
But you said you don't understand why you are here.
No, well, I don't. No, I do. Please see the movie.
She never fully admitted it was a bit, not even at the end of the segment. She just let the confusion sit there, completely unresolved, for the whole studio audience to enjoy along with him. Notice what's happening here already. A co-star gets publicly in trouble for touching a microphone in front of a live camera, with an interviewer actively fanning the flames, turning a friendly gesture into an entire narrative in real time. A legendary late-night host, someone with decades of experience reading guests and calling out a bluff, gets fed a completely fabricated career history and has no reliable way to prove it in real time, live, on air, in front of a studio audience who has no idea either. Neither of them ever gets a clean answer about what was real and what wasn't, and neither ever will. That's not a coincidence. That's Aubrey Plaza's actual method, refined over years of doing this exact thing to person after person, show after show, and it only escalates from there.
And I found onehourmarriage.com, and then I called around 5 p.m. and I said, can you come in an hour and marry me in our yard? And he said, how about tomorrow?
On Ellen, promoting a film, Plaza was asked about her wedding, a fairly standard, low-stakes question most guests answer with a sweet, quick anecdote, and instead of a normal answer, she told an increasingly bizarre story about getting married on a complete whim, building the details out slowly, letting the absurdity compound with every sentence. We got a little bored one night, she explained, completely straight-faced, as if this were the most ordinary origin story imaginable. We got married, and I'll tell you how. onehourmarriage.com.
Yeah. One night.
And then you got married.
We got married, and I'll tell you how. onehourmarriage.com. That's real. Look it up.
Okay. Okay.
Ellen, one of the most experienced interviewers on television, someone who has heard basically every celebrity anecdote imaginable across thousands of episodes, could not stop laughing, not because the story was obviously true, but because Plaza delivered it with the exact same flat, matter-of-fact conviction she'd used to describe what she had for breakfast that morning, giving the audience nothing to hold on to except the sheer commitment of the delivery.
Dandelion, and I said, I'm getting married, nobody knows. If you could do a spell or tell me if this is a good idea, anything, I'd really like some help. And so she went, I have just the thing. She went in her house, rummaged around, came out with a rosemary wreath that she gave me. She literally cackled, gave it to me. And then I created a very quick love altar in my yard.
Then there's the 2023 Met Gala, live on Vogue's red carpet in front of an enormous streaming audience, where host Chloe Fineman was introducing three lovely ladies and fumbled the introductions completely, calling her Audrey before trailing off mid-surname, clearly unsure of the exact pronunciation.
Wow, look at these three lovely ladies. We have Stella McCartney, Madeline Klein, and Audrey
Slutburn.
Slutbone.
Slutburn to you.
Oh. Well, I'll take it.
Plaza didn't correct her, and she didn't wait for the awkward pause to resolve itself naturally either. She filled in the blank herself, live, on camera, in front of millions of viewers, with total composure. Slutburn, Fineman, visibly thrown and clearly not expecting that answer, just repeated the fake surname back like it was completely real, unable to stop the broadcast to sort out what had actually just happened. The internet spent days afterward trying to figure out if Plaza had genuinely broken a major red carpet broadcast or just quietly hijacked it for her own amusement, while an entire production team scrambled behind the scenes. And, as usual, she never clarified which it actually was. Here's the thing that connects every single one of these moments. Aubrey Plaza never breaks, no matter how long the bit runs or how uncomfortable the silence gets. Other actors might crack a smile at some point to signal, I'm joking, we're all having fun here, don't worry. She doesn't do that, not once, not even when the joke has clearly landed and everyone in the room already knows it's a bit. She commits so fully to whatever she's doing that the interviewer is left doing all the emotional labor of trying to figure out the actual tone while she just sits there, completely unreadable, letting the silence and the confusion do the heavy lifting for her. It's worth noting she's carried this same energy into scripted territory too, not just live interviews. When she guest hosted Saturday Night Live, the writers built entire sketches specifically designed around her ability to hold a completely flat expression through increasingly absurd scenarios, trusting that the deadpan itself would carry the joke better than any punchline could. That's not a small thing for a live sketch show to bet on. It means the writer's room had watched enough of her interviews to know exactly what she was capable of doing on command, under studio lights, in front of a live audience, with cameras that don't offer a second take. Even she'll admit there's a strategic edge underneath all the apparent chaos once you push her on it directly. I think there is an element of me unconsciously giving people what they want, she said. You're weird on talk shows, and then people expect that again, and then you get caught in this trap. That's about as close as she'll ever come to explaining the trick directly, laying out the entire mechanism in plain language, and even then, she delivers the explanation with the same flat, unreadable tone she uses for the bits themselves. So you're still not entirely sure if she means it sincerely, or if the explanation is somehow also part of the bit, one layer further down than anyone had bothered to check. That instinct isn't limited to talk shows and red carpets. Either it shows up even in game show style segments built specifically to force a real, unguarded answer out of a guest. On Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live, playing a game where she could dodge exactly 1 out of 3 pre-recorded questions, Plaza chose to use her pass elsewhere and instead answered whether she'd ever dipped into the lady pond, referencing an on-screen kiss with a former co-star with a single flat word. Yes. No elaboration, no follow-up story, no attempt to soften it or spin it into a longer, more entertaining anecdote the way almost every other guest on that segment tends to. Most guests use a moment like that to build a whole bit, milking the shock value for as long as the host will let them. Plaza just let one syllable sit there in total silence and moved on to the next question. And somehow, that single word was funnier and more disarming than any elaborate story could have been.
Your Twitter handle is Evil Hag. Speaking of witchy presence, your Twitter handle is Evil Hag. Why Evil Hag?
Because I like it. I don't know, because why? Sorry.
Why do I feel like you're my daughter and And I'm like, we've got to talk about this report card. Whatever.
I like it.
You listen, sit up straight, young lady, and tell me why you're evil hag.
No, Daddy, no.
But if you want the purest distillation of what makes an interview with Aubrey Plaza genuinely unsurvivable, it's not any single clip on its own. It's what happens when you put multiple pieces of evidence next to each other, spread across more than a decade and a dozen different hosts, and realize she's been running some version of the exact same trick the entire time, refined and repeated, without a single one of those hosts ever fully catching up to her or figuring out a reliable countermove. Think about the full range here, laid out side by side, spanning more than a decade of her career. A co-star grabbing a microphone turns into a full public breakup, complete with a chilly goodbye and a walk-off that leaves the segment in ruins. A simple throwaway question about her career turns into a completely fabricated life story that a professional interviewer with decades of experience can't disprove in real time. A wedding story turns into a website punchline delivered with total, unwavering sincerity. A live broadcast mishap turns into a fake surname that ends up outlasting the actual segment in people's memory, still getting referenced years later. Every single time, the target of the bit, the co-star, the host, the broadcast itself, the entire production crew scrambling behind the cameras ends up more confused than she does because she's the only person in the exchange who knows for certain at every moment whether any of it is real. That's really the whole answer to the question in the title. Nobody survives an interview with Aubrey Plaza's deadpan energy because surviving it would require knowing, at some point during the conversation, what was actually a joke and what wasn't, and she has built an entire career, spanning talk shows, red carpets, awards, broadcasts, and game shows on making absolutely sure you never do. Letterman didn't get an answer. Ellen didn't get an answer, even through her own laughter. Chloe Fineman certainly didn't get one live on the Met Gala carpet. Michael Cera, her actual friend and co-star, someone who'd spent months on set with her, didn't get an answer either, and he was standing right next to her holding the microphone when it happened. The closest anyone's gotten to a straight explanation is her own admission that she knows exactly what she's doing and does it anyway, on purpose, because the discomfort itself has become the entire performance. The joke was never really the answer. The joke was always just watching everyone else try to find one. That's arguably the most impressive part of the whole thing when you step back and look at it as a body of work rather than a series of isolated clips scattered across different eras of her career. Most celebrities who go viral for being awkward on talk shows are just genuinely bad at interviews, caught off guard by a question they didn't expect, and the clip becomes a one-time embarrassment they'd rather forget and hope never gets brought up again. Aubrey Plaza has turned the exact same raw material into a decade-long, ongoing bit that she controls completely, that she can explain in interviews about interviews without ever fully breaking the illusion, and that somehow gets funnier the more times you watch it, because you start noticing exactly how deliberate every flat delivery and every unbothered pause actually is, right down to the timing of the silences. So, which moment got you the most confused? The Michael Cera microphone meltdown that ended with a walk-off? The Letterman lie nobody could ever fully disprove? The OneHourMarriage.com wedding story that had Ellen in stitches? Or that single, ice-cold yes on Watch What Happens Live that somehow said more by saying almost nothing at all? Let us know in the comments which interview you think broke the host hardest. And if you want more of Hollywood's most unreadable interview moments, hit subscribe. We've got more of these coming every week.